Oh, my opening graphic isn't working, Karam, but other than that, we're live, we're good. How are you? Just a quick shout out to Just Eat, who are our partners for Uefa content. There'll be codes to the mini league that you can join. So make sure you join those. There's prizes for top scores and differential picks and all that kind of stuff. I'm joined by Karam today. How are you, Karam?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thanks for having me back on. Um, Fantasy-wise, I feel I'm in the mud. As many my Twitter followers know about me putting a lot of situations in the mud, and I was in the mud yesterday without Dumfries, who I took
Oh
out last
no.
minute for who? For Mario Unlucky Fernandez. So that's just 13 points right here. So yeah,
It's
not
like
good.
I know it's like FPL season's ended. Let's find new ways to kick us when we're down. I'm the same. I took Dumfries out. I had the misfortune of doing the show with Andy the other day, where he said he wasn't convinced on Dumfries. I believe that you got talked out of him as well by our new pro pundit. So
I have to say he's the only one who made me doubt him. I watched the Netherlands Ukraine from the stadium, and he was unbelievable. I
mm,
was like, when I was on the train back home on that night, I put him in my limit. There's no way I take him out, and just because I want to fit in Mario Fernandez, there are no regrets about fitting him in. But it could have been Mounier or Dumfries or anybody else. It just happened to be the 14 points man.
yeah,
So
I know.
pretty frustrating.
So
Yeah.
don't worry, Andy is sacked. He won't be coming back on to any more podcasts. It was a quick signing, and now he's gone. A bit like those managers who come for like a couple of games and then you realise it's not working out. So yeah, Andy, if you listen to this, it's your P45s in the post. No, he's all right. But yeah, it was unfortunate. Like you say, I mean, you think of these wing backs, isn't it? A lot of the time you get them for their kind of attacking potential. And Andy was making the point that we weren't convinced on the Dutch's clean sheet potential, and I kind of thought, yeah, he might be right. Maybe there are other attacking options. I went for Zinchenko, for example, instead, and I got talked into Alba as well because I thought, well, I mean, he could still do something, but he's going to have to do something pretty remarkable for 15 points. But you never know. Yeah, I just it was just one of those ones where just everything could have gone wrong, especially for you. I mean, going for Fernandez, a rush, he goes off early as well. They kept a clean sheet as well, didn't they? So
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Let's not. Well, we are going to dwell on it a bit more because we're gonna quickly just run through our teams. So on the screen is my team for this week. It's pretty disappointing so far, given that I played the Limitless. Chip had Zinchenko captain, which I thought was going to be pretty bad actually after he blanked and Lukaku was next to play, but luckily they both got 2 points. So moving over to Sterling today, which we'll see in a bit. Haven't really got any other points anywhere else. I went for double France strikers, so that's my kind of differential there. And the likes of Alba still to go, Forsberg, but I don't think this is going to be a particularly good week. And it looks so strong on paper, right? Like this is the thing with the Limitless chip.
Yeah.
You've got all these premium picks, and yeah, and they're not really performing. The likes of like Yaramchuk and people like that are all the ones scoring. Yarmolenko. I mean, I had Malinovsky and he missed a penalty. He had an amazing game, and it was Yarmolenko that got all the points. So I think Malinovsky can be one of those players that looks class and makes Ukraine better, but never really gets those fantasy
Oh
returns.
pain. Ukraine, oh pain for Malinovsky.
Ukraine,
I mean,
Ukraine.
it's funny, isn't it? Because that's the power of having unlimited cash. You can literally pick any player in the game without any budget restrictions, and it's so frustrating, right? When you don't get points. I know some of friends as well. They are going to day three of match day two with just a single clean sheet from the whole team.
Mm.
Like the Spinazzola's clean sheet, and that's it. And it's funny because you've had a chance to pick anybody in the
I
game,
know.
but it just didn't come in for
There's no
you.
excuse, right?
No.
There's no excuse. Like at least when you free hit, you could be like, oh well, I only had the budget for this guy, and I went for this guy because he was cheaper and all this. It's like, no, you've got absolutely no excuse if you don't get it right. You could have had anyone. You could have had anyone as, and you blew it. So it's a tricky one. I mean, there's talk about it being introduced into FPL. What do you think of that? Would you like to see it in FPL, or are you happy with it just in the international tournaments? It kind of ruins some kind of advantage you can get from the price rises, right?
Do you mean the chip itself?
Yeah,
right? The limitless chip.
Limitless chip.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I think in situations like in FPL with double game weeks or so, when you use it, you give yourself a bigger chance to pick everybody. I know this chip is available already in Elite Syrian game. It's called the Rich Uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And I just used it last week as well, and it made me very poor guy on a Rich Uncle chip. So it can easily backfire. And the variance might be even higher than just going for a free hit with a limited budget. So I wouldn't mind to see it. Just because it creates additional fun, not only just because everybody will focus on picking up the big players.
Well, that's
right?
it.
But
that is the key thing, isn't it? You forget about the kind of the lesser guys who can often be the top scorers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Yarmolenko is a good example of that. I mean, I went for Malinovsky, but and Zinchenko, but he was a kind of like mid-price option that I went for. That there wasn't really too many. In this game, all the kind of premium assets seem to be the strikers. So it was a little bit easier to focus on that. But I don't know, if it's like FPL, you're going to be focusing on a lot of like 9, 10, 11 million. You're probably going to have De Bruyne, Fernandes, Kane. Son's probably going to come in at 10, 10.5. You're going to have all of those guys. And it's like, it could actually be the 6.5 ones with good fixtures that come in. But are you really going to risk it? Are you going to risk going for like a 6.5 option and not going for Son when you've got a limited budget? It is an interesting chip. Let's take a look at your team. So you went for De Bruyne, which was really interesting. I got to admit, I didn't consider him just because I was pretty sure he was going to come off the bench. You took that risk. Paid off massively. You must be happy with that.
Yeah, very delighted. I think KDB was one of the first names to come in on the limitless chip. Saw him training, saw him taking part in full trainings. Roberto Martinez himself declared that he is ready to play. The question is how many minutes he will play. And I just used the advantage of the subs. You can use the subs to take out the players. It didn't look good because by the time KDB's announced on the bench, I had already 3 blank players, in which one of them I can't even replace because I had 2 definite blank defenders. So I had to deal with one till the end of the game week, or to live with one until the end of the game week. So I just decided to go for him. I thought they need a win to secure the group against Denmark. If he's fit, then he is probably going to start because he's so important for them, and he needs to build his fitness going forward. So I fancied his starts, I must admit. But when he came on the second half, we saw how he turned the game around. It's just amazing, spectacular to watch. So that paid off massively. Yarmolenko as well.
Yeah, got that right.
It was very, very 50-50. I wouldn't say, well, I was like, oh, I'm genius, I picked him over Malinovsky. It was really 50-50. I could have easily gone for Malinovsky, but I thought Yarmolenko because I saw him also live in the stadium when I watched the Netherlands-Ukraine game. He looked like the more direct guy. He is the guy who, whenever he has a chance to take a shot, then he will. Malinovsky is a kind of player who dictates the play. He is the maestro of the Ukrainian team. He is on set pieces. So I thought the ceiling is a little bit higher for Yarmolenko. That's all. And that's why I went for him. So, Wijnaldum is a funny story because last week I started with Depay, who blanked. Wijnaldum scored. And this week I did the opposite, and the opposite outcome came in. So I can't do more about it. So I expected more from Zuba. But 5-pointer is not the end of the world. Insignia, a blank is a bit disappointing, but whatever. I think captaincy for Zinchenko was the play for yesterday. I thought I pretended to be really smart by going for a defender captain over Yarmolenko, or even not going for Lukaku or so. But yeah, I still have two chances. One is today, Kane or Sterling, which I'm not decided on. I wonder which one is the one to go for. And Mbappe on the last day. Surely Mbappe has to get some points against Hungary. But yeah, 41 takes me up to about 71k, which in general terms feels okay. But I think considering the 50-50 decisions I had and how the variance was, I could have been in a much better position. But it's okay. Hopefully today and tomorrow will bring better results.
You've had one of those weeks which is like a good week, but could really have been a great week if certain things had gone off. I mean, the Fernandes thing is outrageously unlucky, as we mentioned.
He was literally a second striker, right?
Yeah,
until he went off. So
I know, and Zinchenko for me as well. I mean, I had him captain. I'm gonna risk that over Lukaku, who I knew was going to be sort of the most popular player going into that week. And Zinchenko was poor. Didn't really look that threatening. It was just all about Yaremchuk, Malinovsky pulling the strings, and Yarmolenko, and Malinovsky really. I can see now. This is the danger of going kind of all in. I mean, I've been backing him all pre-tournament and stuff, but I hadn't really seen him play. I'd just seen kind of snippets really and talk, and been doing a lot of reading and stuff. And actually, when you watch him play, he really does fit into exactly what you said. That player pulling the strings, dictating tempo. On the set pieces, but just hasn't got that directness that is so important to getting these FPL returns. And Yarmolenko, he's one of, and again, Yarmolenko is one of those players who's a different player for the country than he is for West Ham. We've just not seen him get going for West Ham, really. But for Ukraine, he's just unbelievably dangerous. Yep. So they're a good. I was right about Ukraine sort of being entertaining and exciting and a good watch. Yeah. But unfortunately, I've not been able to tap into all of my research because I haven't owned any of their players for any of their hauls. So, yeah, I'm one of these Neely guys as well.
And they have been great to watch as well, and they still need points in the last game against Austria. So I still think if you're on a wildcard or a limitless in match day 3, I still think the Ukrainian assets are still good to go. They are Yarmolenko, Yaremchuk. They were subbed off early. They must be considered for the last game. So yeah, pretty exciting.
I think the teams that have lost in the first game and then won in the second game, and have something to play for in that third game, and also have won, so have clearly got some element of form going into it, are the kind of the team to target. So we'll come straight into it. Actually, let's go straight into you talked about wildcarding in game week 3. You are wildcarding in match day 3. I'll just run through your team on the screen, and then you can talk me through it. So you've got Safonov in goal. You've got Veltman, my boy. Di Laurentiis, Torres, Denea, Perisic, Hazard, Berardi, De Bruyne. That's Eden Hazard, not Torgan, the goal scorer. Yaremchuk and Embolo up front. Simon, Muller, Gozens, and Olmo to come on if you need them. Really interesting team. I can see what you're doing. You're basically looking at players who haven't played much and are playing. Could well get that third game when the team's already through, or you're targeting players who kind of need to get a win to go through. So yeah, talk me through it. Let's start at the back. Let's start in goal. You've got the Spanish keeper and Safonov. So you spent quite a bit in defence, in goal. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, Safonov is 4 million keeper, and I'm not expecting a clean sheet from him. The thing with a wild card now, because it's a wild card, and I have a limited budget to deal with. So I have decided to spend on one goalkeeper who I think will keep a clean sheet, is the Spanish goalkeeper, Unai Simon against Slovakia, and then Safonov against Denmark might get me some safe points. Maybe he does another Radivsky. Who knows? But mostly it's about having the Spanish goalkeeper at 5 million. I think he's a great option. The wild card in general has focused on two things. One, teams with good fixtures who are still have something to play for, and that's particularly about Switzerland, Ukraine, Spain. Even if they win today, they will be on 4 points. I think they want to win the group. So they need to still go full strength on the third game, and Germany. And there are some teams like Belgium with a great fixture, but I don't think they will start with the main 11 that we used to see. However, I think for the back line, but we'll talk about the defense later, but Denier, I think he's someone who will raise a question because he played one game out of the last two, whether he will play or not. I think he and Boyata might play actually, so just to give a rest to Alderweireld and Vertonghen, maybe Vermaelen as well. So those back three in the game. So this is the main idea when it comes to the wild card, and of course it's a wild card. It's another free hit effectively because we will get unlimited transfers next match day as well. And a couple of punts here and there. So the Veltman, I don't think we will see the main 11 for the Netherlands after winning the group. And Dumfries has been brilliant, but I think it's time to give him a rest. Maybe Veltman can come in as a right wing back or a third center back. But that spot's subject to change, of course, but I fancy him to start. And a couple of punts like Perisic as well, who depends on the result of Croatia today. They might have something to play for to qualify to the next round. So I fancy him against Scotland. Empolo against Turkey. Yeah, these kind of players who, I mean, I liked Empolo the first game, and Turkey are not good enough for some reason this tournament. So yeah, can come off.
So let's before we move too far up the pitch, let's just talk generally, because the chat is kind of saying. So Florin Sandu says this realistically is a team that can get 15 points. Nuclear Atoms asking about Dumfries getting benched for Veltman. You've got Florin against a huge chance that these players won't feature. So I mean that to me, when I first looked at this team, there's two things I noticed. Firstly is just how far you deviated from premium strikers up front. So like Kane, Lukaku, all of those guys are in there. I'm not saying that's wrong, because I've done similar. It's just an interesting twist to do that, and it's one of the reasons why the wild card for me is such a tricky chip to play this week, because I think you either back Lukaku and Kane and these guys and just say, okay, Lukaku wants the golden boot. They want to win the group. They want to carry on their form. We don't know what Martinez is going to do. We don't know that he's going to bench everyone. And in the same with like Dumfries, maybe they want to keep the momentum going. Maybe they want to keep winning. Maybe they don't. I think different managers are going to do different things, and it's hard to know. So I would say that this wildcard team you've got on the screen is a risky wildcard. So I do agree, because I mean you've got the likes of Eden Hazard, Berardi's there, Veltman, Di Lorenzo, isn't it? Di Lorenzo, Di Lorenzo, I think it is. Denier, Muller. These are all players who, like Florin's right. These guys could not feature at all, and you could end up with quite a low score. And then having played a chip, which a lot of people are going to be saving. Does that not worry you at all? Do you think you'll stay this risky, or do you think you'll add in a couple of more? But then, I don't know. Talk to me about it. I think honestly, it's one of the reasons why I don't think I'm going to do the wildcard this week, because I just don't know who is going to feature, and I might just go in with the team I've got and just try and get through with an average score.
Well, what I expect is a chaotic match day 3.
Yeah,
that's for sure. So we might end up like, it doesn't matter if you wildcard or not, because it would be very hard to anticipate who is going to play. It comes down to what we think what will happen with each team. I personally don't see Lukaku starting the last match day. It's a great opportunity against Finland to give a go to Batshuayi or Benteke. I'm more confident that KDB and Eden Hazard will start the game, and that's something Roberto Martinez has admitted. He's not sure they will play 90 minutes, but the plan is to start them. So here it is. So I'm more confident about the Belgium midfielders than the attack, and that's one reason why I decided to go away from Lukaku. Kane is an interesting one because I'm not. If England beats Scotland, I think they win the group already, right? Or it's not yet decided. But I don't know what happens with the Czech Republic as well. But there is a chance that they win the group already. then will be a chance to give a Calvert-Lewin a go, for example, or
Well,
they will keep Kane going on for the Golden Boot. Yeah.
If the Czech Republic beat Croatia, then it will come down to the final game.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So yeah, Kane is one of the strikers that I'm not ruling out completely, because he might still come in somehow if they need him in the third game. There is also that tendency that he will play every match just because he wants to win the Golden Boot. I think Lukaku and Belgium in general are not, in my opinion, are not that desire to win the Golden Boot as much as the team goes far in this tournament.
I don't think anyone's got as much kind of individual sort of glory as Kane. I mean, maybe Ronaldo has that element to him, but also he wants to win everything. I mean, that's not to say Kane doesn't want to win, but no offense to Tottenham, he doesn't come from a culture of winning a lot of team trophies like Ronaldo has. So yeah, I think I agree. I think Kane, for Kane, that Golden Boot means more to him than I think even he lets on, and he's pretty clear that he wants it.
Yeah. And the likes of Ronaldo and Mbappe, I think, you can't read the last fixture. I think every team of Portugal, Germany, and France will still play full strength to secure the first and second at least, because it's really hard to anticipate how things will pan out. Then I decided to avoid it. So I found myself all of a sudden moving away from the premium attackers and focusing the money on KDB and Eden Hazard, who I believe are more likely to start from the premiums. And when you invest 21 million in these two picks, you kind of already limited somehow from going big up top. So that's kind of how things ended up. It's more about the uncertainty from those premium players, whether they play or not, and it's a risk that's worth taking. I think the longer we go in this tournament format, the smaller pool will end up, and maybe by the quarterfinals we will end up having pretty much the same premium players, if not 90% of the team. So if there is any chance, if there is any chance that you can make up a huge ground, and I still have a feeling that I have another shot here, it's gonna be this match day. There was someone on the chat, interestingly, he said he captained Dumfries and he moved from 3 million to 6,000. So his team must be doing good in general, but it still shows that you can still make a huge ground.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm 200,000, I think, in the world, but like I kind of said, I've still got the likes of Mbappe, Forsberg, Sterling, Alba, Benzema, Hernandez. Like, I've still got half my team left to play. I could end up the end of this week if everything came off 2K. There's so much, like we talk about variance. There's so much variance in this game, and especially with all the different players. We've got bigger squads. We've got different captains that can come in and that the others haven't got. So yeah, it is exciting, but it's always felt to me that I say it's always felt to me. It's always felt to everyone. It's pretty obvious. The biggest gains can be made earlier on in the tournament, because, like you say, when it comes down to the semi-finals, and everyone's got the same 5 or 6 players from each team or whatever, it becomes a lot harder to really make up that ground unless you go hard, back the underdogs. Go for a Greece win, like when they won it, or a Denmark or a Portugal when they won. Back the lower ranked teams to cause upsets. It's really interesting. I think this week particularly is really interesting because I think the wildcard people who do what you've done and go quite risky could get burnt, or it could pay off massively because no one's going to own the likes of Veltman, for example, or the people who wildcard and go for the premium picks and they don't play, they get burnt, or they come in and it really is up in the air. And I think you need to choose kind of what you're happy with and what you're comfortable with, and it's the ultimate risk and reward this week. It really is. Yeah. We have these throughout an FPL season, but I really do think this week is the big one to either decide to kind of play it relatively safe, stick with the premiums, and kind of get through the week, or do what you're doing and really target their differential picks. Yeah.
And there are 2 picks I want to mention as well from the defense, since we are talking about the back line. The Di Lorenzo of Italy. I think this pick came sort of like an autopage because Florenzi is injured. I haven't heard that he's gonna be coming back, and I don't think they have a third right back unless my research is missing something. So it feels like okay, in a decent Italy defense who allowed nothing in this tournament, even against Wales, I still fancy them to keep a clean sheet. I don't think the Italian mentality will say okay, let's play for a draw or something. They will respect the group, and some teams like Switzerland might need to qualify. So I think they will go relatively good team, but still enough to keep a clean sheet. And it's always great to have a defender and a midfielder who are starting in the first match day. And we will be lucky to see the team sheets anyway. There is some talks about Toloi, who might start as well, and he's a cheaper. So I still fancy having at least 2 picks from Italy. Berardi is another one who might be Chiesa. Never mind, I'll just make a swap. I left 1 million in the bank just in case we know something about the Italian team sheets. The other one is Gosens, and I know you have him already from game week 1.
Plan for this.
And he's a left wing back playing in advanced positions. He looked okay against France.
Apart from when he blocked that shot on the line, did you see that?
Yeah.
Good one, mate.
That was a good one. Yeah, that was a good one. And against Hungary, I think Germany are capable of pulling out that great result in the third game. So he is in for me.
Well, Germany are a perfect team for me because they've lost that first game. You know, they're playing again. You know, obviously against Portugal, not an easy game. They might win it, but I could see a draw or even losing more likely. So they're really going to need to go into that Hungary game with their strongest team. They're going to need a big performance. You know, that to me is the absolute standout fixture of the week. So, so you've got 2 German players there. I've got 3 in mine in my wildcard.
And it's good to mention that Germany didn't even allow a lot against France. I think their XG conceded was something like 0.27, 0.28, something like that. So they have showed a high resilience in defense, and that helps as well. Also, it's nice to have someone on the last day just to come in for the blanks will come in through the way. So yeah, that's great.
Absolutely. And I think this week we've seen in the previous weeks I've mentioned that, you know, like the reason I didn't go for Ronaldo in the first week, for example, was because I thought I'm going to hit a captain before it gets to Ronaldo, so I'm probably not going to need him. And for a lot of people, that came in on the first day with like Spinazzola and Insigne, and people didn't want to switch Immobile, exactly. But match day 3, I think, is different because you could very well go through all your captains and none of them play. And so actually having a German player on that last day and making sure that you've got, you know, the best German player for that captaincy, I think is absolutely key. You haven't got the German player that I'm probably most excited about. I'll come to him in a second. I'll just flash up my team that I've got at the moment. So this is without the wild card for me. So I didn't intend to use the wild card this week. I'm sort of undecided. Heredicary and Batman in goal, Kjaer, Spinazzola, Denia, Zielinski, Carrasco, Berardi, Soucek, Depay, Lukaku, Kane, and then Gosens, Torres, and Jota on the bench. I mean, to me, it's a good looking team. There's players there who I think should still play. Depay obviously is a bit of a doubt if we go by the theory that Netherlands may rotate now they're through. Lukaku as well, and Kane. So, you know, the 3 strikers that I kind of backed to get lots and lots of goals in this tournament, I kind of knew this would happen, that it would get to the final day and it would be like, oh, are any of them going to start? I've got two free transfers though, so I think I can get away with this team with 2 free transfers if I make kind of the right calls. Now, De Bruyne is the one that I want. So I could very well just do something like Lukaku and Carrasco to De Bruyne and someone like Yaremchuk or something like that, and kind of get away with it. So I don't think that I'm gonna do it. The worrying thing for me is that I don't have the German players, and I put together a wildcard team of something that I'd look to do, and that would be really kind of going for it. So it's with Gnabry, who I like, who plays pretty much up front a lot of the time. He's really advanced. Gundogan's in there. I keep Gosens. I've gone back to Dumfries there as well. So I've joined you on the Embolo shout. Yaremchuk's up there, but I'm looking at this wildcard team and just thinking, other than Gnabry, I can get to De Bruyne fairly easily. Do I really need to wildcard for the likes of Embolo and like Olsen and and Dumfries and stuff, and Dumfries as well. You've mentioned Veltman could come in, so I want my wildcard to kind of. The wildcard needs to serve a purpose in this game. It either needs to let you really target players who you're kind of not going to be able to get, like the likes of Batshuayi if you think he's going to start, or we get news about him and things like that, or it's a get out of jail free card for a bit later on in the tournament when we need it because we've backed a load of teams and they all get knocked out, and we've got three players starting the next day. And I'm just not convinced that this wildcard really. I think it's a decent wildcard team, but I'm not sure compared to my original team it really lets me do kind of either of those things. But yeah, I mean, the interesting thing was you've gone for Muller for Germany. I think the Germany decision is really key. You've gone for Muller, I've gone for Gnabry and Gundogan. Firstly, how come you've only gone for the two German players in Gosens and Muller, and why Muller over some of the midfielders?
I think two key reasons why I picked Muller over Gnabry. I considered Gnabry briefly, but then I decided to go for Muller for two reasons. The first one is the nailness. I think Muller is the guy who will play 90 minutes all the time. He has interchangeable role with Gnabry, but he mostly looked like someone who comes in the box, in the middle of the box, and he had a great chance with his header against France. And he had a great season with Bayern Munich as well, goals and assists. Gnabry is a guy who can explode, but he did not have a great season in general in Bundesliga and can easily be subbed off 70 minutes, 65 minutes with the likes of Werner, or it could be other options in midfield or in attack. So for that reason, I just decided to go for the one who should play the 90 minutes. And that's why I went for Muller over Gnabry. But equally, Gnabry has high ceiling, so he could come in for the owners, but I just fancied Muller better.
Because you've gone for Hazard, haven't you? So it's kind of with that price point, it's kind of either Hazard or Gnabry probably.
Yeah, exactly. Muller is classified as a forward as well. Gnabry is a midfielder, so that was another key reason. I really wanted to have KDB and Eden Hazard. I think these two are untouchable. Please don't put someone online to persuade me like Andy did with Dumfries. I just want to stick with these two.
Well, I mean, the only risk I think is the minutes, right? But I mean, there was the risk of that with De Bruyne, and you ignored that and got rewarded. So again, it's high risk, high reward. I just think Gnabry. Yeah. I think Gnabry to me would be the one. If I was probably going to pick one player for the whole week, I think it would probably be Gnabry, just because he's got that motivation. We know he's almost certainly going to start, really threatening, really attacking, and I don't think his ownership is even that high. So he's a kind of a relative differential as well. Yeah. So for me, he would be the pick for this week. I do really like the look of him. Gundogan's kind of just there because I wanted to tap into it a little bit more, but I wasn't very impressed with him. I do wonder what his kind of role is for Germany, but yeah, Gnabry for me is one. A couple of questions in the chat. Mujedid Zulia says, can I use Limitless on Matchday 3? You can, absolutely. The problem is, and it's exactly what Karam touched on, is the beauty of the Limitless is the unlimited budget. Well, if you're not backing the premium players to start, then you're really not going to be getting the most out of that chip for that week. So if we switch back to Karam's team, I mean I don't know what the budget is of this team. Is this perfectly on 100?
For my team, it's on budget with 1.2 million in the bank.
Exactly. So you've got money. You've got money in the bank. That's it. So if I gave you an extra 10 million, you wouldn't do anything extra with it, would you? Because probably not. And
it's an interesting question, and the point you raise up, because that was also a key decision for me to play the Limitless in 2 and Wildcard in 3, because
Absolutely.
I had that anticipation that some premium players will miss out, the likes mainly of Lukaku. Didn't fancy the likes of Ronaldo or Mbappe in Matchday 3 purely because of uncertainty of how the match will pan out. And I felt like I can draft in a team with 105 that would mostly rely on some budget picks like the Empolo, Yarimchuk, Perisic, with a couple of premiums, and I feel that was the right play. In my case, with a limitless, everybody needs to play for something still, right? So I had that luxury chance to look for any player that I want.
Yep.
It partly backfired for some picks that I ignored because of the unlimited budget, but it's still, in my opinion, left me with a feeling that it's a better opportunity in LL2 than the wildcard in game week 3 in Matchday 3. Yeah, I mean, that was a key.
Yeah, and Drizia asked in the chat, sort of when do you play the limitless, Chib, if you've kind of still got it. And I guess what you're hoping for is later on in the tournament you get a team like France and Portugal playing each other, and then you load up on all of them: Ronaldo, Fernandes, Mbappe, Benzema, you know, and that's how you kind of get ahead. But obviously with that comes the fact that they're playing each other. It's probably not going to be that high scoring game, which was why I think playing it early kind of is the key. I think if I had both the limitless and the wildcard, I do think there is some sense in playing limitless this week, even if you don't necessarily go for every single premium option. You treat it just as a free hit, because I think if you forget about the limitless name and all the stuff that brings, I think the free hit is better for this week, and then keeping the wildcard for after the round of 16, when there might be some surprises, you want to get your team in better shape. I think the free hit is a lot less effective later in the week, later in the tournament than the wildcard is. So if I had both, I would probably be playing the limitless this week, I think. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. No, we agree on something. That's good.
There you go.
Any more questions? FPL Rover likes the KDB and Hazard shout. He suggests Arnautovic as well. So obviously he was suspended for the last game, but he's back. Austria, it's a must-win game for them. So yeah, Arnautovic could be a shout. He's going to be one of those players who's really, really low ownership as well. So yeah, I really like that pick. And one more question. Louis says Foden or Perisic captain today. So I'm guessing no Sterling or no Kane or anyone like that. I mean, I am backing England. I mean, every time I back England against Scotland, I get a load of abuse in the comment section. I think you've got to back England in this game, given where the two teams are in the rankings and the quality that England have. I don't think it's going to be a mauling. I think Scotland are just so up for this match. But I think out of those two, I'd back Foden. I think he's almost certainly going to start, and we should win that game. I'm not sure about Czech Republic, Croatia. I think that could be quite close.
Yeah, and the question is with England picks, would you go for Kane or Sterling? That's the question.
That is the question. Yeah,
that is the question. I do have both. You have both. I'm sure many will have both or Foden. So would you go for the extra point of goal and the clean sheet point, or because Kane, to get a 10 points, he needs 2 goals.
Yeah.
For Sterling, he can get an 8 with a single goal and a clean sheet point. So it feels like much closer, but effectively Sterling needs to do just a goal to get to a situation where, okay, 8 points is a decent return, unless Scotland scores and then he ends up with a 7. So mathematically, it's not that far, but it just means that Kane has to do a brace. Did you see a brace from Sterling?
Yeah,
I think Kane is capable of a brace, but I'm not sure about Sterling. I could be wrong, but what do you think?
No, it's a very good point. I mean, Sterling could be at risk in terms of if he does put in an effective performance, he's going to be subbed. I mean, we've got options on the left hand side. Rashford can come in, Grealish can come in. So you know, if Sterling could be a 60-minute man if he's not playing well. So almost you need him to get those returns, I think, quite early on, or for him to at least look lively. I think I'd back Kane. I've got Sterling and no Kane. If I had both, I think I would back Kane with the armband. I think, given that, I mean, he was really poor, really, really poor against Croatia, I thought. Very, very little goal threat at all. I'm not expecting that against Scotland. I think that'll be a much more open game. I think Scotland are really going to try and come at us, especially early as well. And I think we we need to weather that, and I think we need to score quite early. I think just to kind of settle everyone down a bit. And Kane should get a lot more service and be more of a threat. So I think I'd go for Kane. I think he's got more chance of getting a big haul. Sterling, I'm still not convinced that Sterling should be starting, really. I know he scored the last game, but there he is. So yeah, I'd go for Kane. What about you?
I would also go for Kane. I think he had a different role, and that was like partly explained by Southgate's post-match conference. He had to drop deeper to pick up the ball and dictate some of the play. I think in this game he will be more direct. He will be more involved in attack than playing in a deeper role. And I think he is a guy who plays 90 minutes. Sterling may or may not start, and if he does, there is no guarantee he plays 90 minutes. So I like to have him. I think he will start, and that's why I picked him in my team. Whether I'm sure he will play 90 minutes, no. Whether he will play a different role in being very wide and allow the midfielders to go in the box. So he will offer something different than we are expecting, and that's a bit risky to have as a captain, because we are in day 3 of match day, so not many options left. I still have Mbappe, and I really like to have the captaincy in this game secured as early as possible. Last match day on Friday, I got Immobile 9 points. Thank you very much, and it was a relief. Exactly, that's the word. Now I'm in a situation where, please Kane, it's a bit stressful, and I fancy Kane. If you watched Sheikh last game, he is the striker. He had plenty of chances from the middle or coming into the middle side, and I expected something similar from Kane. Especially there are talks about having Shaw and Reece James playing on the fullbacks today. That's definitely something to offer more in attack. Wildcard doesn't offer that. What Reece James offered. So I anticipate a bigger ceiling from Kane than Sterling.
Yeah, so do I. I think the Croatia game was always going to be quite tight. We really didn't want to lose that game. We saw it with the team selection as well. I think this game, the rumours are bringing in Reece James and Shaw, like you said. That I think that just indicates that that we're going to go for it a little bit more. And like I said, there's going to be so much more space in this match for our creative players to shine, and for Kane to play a bit further up the pitch and get involved. So yeah, it should be really good. I'm genuinely really looking forward to it. I think Scotland are gonna go into it with absolutely everything they've got. I think if we don't match that kind of fighting spirit and the effort and the work rate they put in, I think they could cause us massive problems. So I think we just need to, we've got a better team, we've got a better quality of players. They just need to kind of deliver and yeah, like I said, get that early goal, I think, to calm the nerves.
Can I ask you something if we have enough time? So if you wildcard with a team that you showed to us, I think we both will have 4 or 5 players playing on the last day of match day. Doesn't that worry you a little bit? Because then you are relatively having a lot of players playing for the last day and you can't sub them out. So is that something you consider as an advantage or a disadvantage? People might be thinking about it. I have looked at it. I was like, do I want 4 or 5 players for the last day? Because what they get is basically what I will take. So what do you think of this approach? Have you considered it?
Yeah, I mean, it is a bigger risk, because especially if you're picking the likes of players who might not feature, you almost want to make sure your squad is even more balanced across the different days, so that you can, you've got the most captain options available, you've got the most subs that can come in, and all of that. I mean, the issue is that the German team, the German fixture for me is the top one. So I know that I'm going to have at least 3 players from that match.
And Spain is a top game.
Exactly.
You got to have 1 or 2.
Exactly. Yeah. So it does worry me a bit, but I'm not enough to kind of change my whole strategy. I think, if it was FPL, we'd have our teams locked in and not, the whole thing is about don't worry about when the games are played. And I think it can be an advantage, but also if you worry about it too much and don't target the teams with the best games, then you can become a bit unstuck. And I think Germany and Spain particularly are going to be players that more than likely we play anyway, just because the fixtures are so good. So yeah, try not to worry about it too much, but it is definitely something to think about.
Fair enough.
Karam, thank you so much. As always, we will do another one of these videos very soon. See how you get on with your wildcard team. I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to try and use my 2 frees and
Do it.
Nah, just quickly run back. I think I can get away with it. Carrasco is a bit of a risk and a bit of a problem, and Lukaku, I'll probably get rid of those 2. Anyway, thanks everyone. Thank you, and thanks everyone in the chat. Just one more final shout out. If you haven't joined the mini league yet, there's still time. The code is on the screen: 13RHPLTV09. When you're tweeting about your teams, use the 2 hashtags: #Euro2020 and #EuroFantasy. And I'll be back with another video next week. I don't know what on yet. I guess it will be kind of, we get all our transfers, don't we? Unlimited transfer budgets. So, Karam, if you're around, we'll do a team reveal of that. I'll get Andy back on and Luke maybe, and I'll do my own one as well. So, yep, the relentless Euro 2020 season marches on. Karam, thanks for joining me, and I will speak to you soon.